No foreign answer, no foreign answer, no. They better watch out. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Queen V.
And I'm Dr. E. Okay, Queen V, what are we talking about today? There's so many wonderful topics. What is on the menu for today? I am excited. What is it all about?
Our story today is about the Olympiad, Allyson Felix. Now, we know we just finished the Olympics in Japan, and Allyson Felix is the most medaled female Olympiad of all time. But I love her story this year because she was the epitome of the audacity to believe.
You know, Queen V is really interesting. I just saw a video of her talking about using the Olympics as a platform for a greater message. Now, she knew that she was going to go there and do her thing because her daughter, she says, inspired her to just take it home. But more than just that, she said that she wanted to use the platform for something greater. Can you talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, several things happened with Allyson Felix that were unknown to the public. One thing that she really wanted to emphasize and actually bring truth to power about was her contract with Nike. Now, everyone knows that Nike is one of the premier supporters and was one of her top sponsors for the Olympics and throughout her career. But what people didn't know is that behind the scenes, it appeared that Nike kind of had a little hypocritical attitude toward their female athletes, in that if they became pregnant, women become pregnant, right? And if they become pregnant, that they would want to challenge their contracts, that they would want to discount the amount of endorsement money that they receive. And Allyson Felix and a lot of other athletes put Nike and other companies on blast for that policy.
Well, you know, it's interesting that same old policies still exist in our, in this country. And it's very disturbing that someone like Allyson had to pick and choose whether or not she would get pregnant and what would happen once she got pregnant and the ramifications behind that. Now, what did she end up doing? Because it's my understanding, it was like, okay, I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to challenge this, but I have the audacity not only to not put up with it, to challenge this, but to also say, well, I'm going to go and compete with you, Nike, by doing my own thing. Can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely, sis. I think it was the ultimate audacious boss move, that she took her own, history, legacy, and destiny in her hands and decided exactly what you stated, that not only am I going to expose you for your practices, I'm going to walk away from you, get another contract with another company, another sponsor, and I'm going to develop my own brand. And that's exactly what she did. And you know what, Sissy? We applaud her for being the ultimate epitome of the audacity to believe that you don't have to just accept any old kind of behavior that's contrary to your best interest.
Well, you know what's interesting? There's so many people in the world that put up with that kind of stuff. I tell you, for many, many years, people work at the same grind, the same job, the same whatever, and they're afraid to speak up because of maybe possible retaliation, or what will people think of me, or what will people do to me, or whatever. And I think that people like her and Simone Biles that says, you know what, I love me enough to not put up with this abuse. Now, for our listening audience, there's a lot of people that's probably thinking, you know what, enough is enough, but I don't have the courage to get out there. What do you say to people like that?
Well, you know what I say, Sissy, and that's such a very poignant point that you're making, that you know what does the average Joe Blow do that has said enough is enough? I got the can't stand it anymore, and I don't have to put up with it. How do I show up with audacity in my own life? Well, you know what, Allyson Felix, it became a process. She didn't just start out, throwing in the tile, leaving Nike, blah, blah, blah. It was a progression. And I think that for everybody, their process is going to be very individualized, but they have to start with baby steps. Maybe the baby steps are you can't stand your boss, you can't stand your supervisor, but you need this paycheck. Okay, what courses can you take online in your field of interest? How can you start building up an online presence? How can you start asking people that are doing what you are doing to mentor you so that you have an exit strategy for when your enough is enough, that you can make an audacious boss move like Allyson Felix? Maybe you need to start saving money for your exit strategy. But whatever it is, we all have the audacity to change our lives at any given moment, but we just have to work through the process.
Well, thank you. Well, how did her motherhood impact her audacity? How did it impact her and our audacity to believe in ourselves? Now, I've asked you that question, but before you answer the question, I like to just piggyback on what Allyson did when she said, hey, she looked at her beautiful daughter. She knew she was pregnant. She looked at her beautiful daughter and said, there's no way I'm going to stop now. And that reminds me of when I was in graduate school. I wanted to drop out. When I was getting my doctorate, enough was enough. I was ready to drop out. But it wasn't until I came home from a classroom, I thought it was a nightmare that I had experienced that day. And I said, I'm done. I am not going back to school. And I was telling my husband what had happened in class and that I didn't need to put up with that. And my little daughter was 18 months old, and she used to listen to Lois and Brown. You can do it. And she started singing to me, holding onto on my kneecap, saying, Mommy, you can do it. You can do it. And I'm standing up, and I had tears rolling down my eyes. And then those tears turned into courage, because I looked at my little bitty baby daughter, 18 months old, that said, I can do it. And she didn't know what she was speaking to my soul. She just knew Mommy was upset. Mommy was getting ready to walk away from something, but she was wise enough in her little bitty body to say, you can do it. And I believe, that was a turning point in my life. I said, I will never stop because of this little kid. How do you think motherhood impacted Allyson?
Oh, I'm sure, like nearly every mother, your children, that is one of the most life transforming experiences ever, thinking that you have this whole human being that is looking up to you for their very life, their very sustenance, and how their life goes is determined on how brave we are with our lives. And, like you, Sissy, and like Allyson, I too, as a very young mother, decided that, I was going to give the little person that was responsible that I was responsible for the best life that I possibly could. And I believe that Allyson Felix looked at her little baby and thought, you know what, I'm brave enough and I'm good enough to walk away from this, because I'm walking towards something greater. And I think that she realized that if she wanted her daughter to be audacious enough to believe, then she had to be a role model of that audacity to believe. And I think for every single parent, every single mentor, every single teacher, instructor, whoever it is that impacts young people, that's something that is tangible that we have to press into them, because life comes at you hard. And we know that life and discouragement and obstacles come to everyone, but we have to have the grit to press, the audacity to believe into our charges. And
Well,
I think that that is what Allyson Felix saw with her daughter.
you've expressed that so eloquently. Let me ask you this. What about those people that they want to have the audacity to believe that they can do more, be more, have more, etc. But when you've had a negative record going on in your head for so many years and you can't seem to get that out of your head because you've been told most of your life that you can't do certain things, you can't have certain things, that you're not good enough, you can't be or whatever. How can we flip the script, so to speak, and start playing a positive reel in our brain so that we can actually believe that we do have the audacious characteristics to move forward?
You know what I believe it is, Dr. E? It is that biblical scripture that says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And just like your precious daughter at 18 months old was listening over and over again to, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can.
Mhm.
We have to refrain our brains to think the same thing. So we will have to change who we're listening to, what we're listening to. And as we reprogram our minds, which we are all capable of doing, get rid of that stinking thinking and put, new programs, new apps into our brains that override the old programming. Over time, it doesn't happen overnight, but over time, we will start to believe what we are hearing. I think I can. I think I can. And that becomes, I know I can. I know I can. And then it happens. It happens before we even know it that we have retrained our minds into the audacity to believe that we can be, do, and have whatever we say.
Oh, that is, I love what you're saying. This brings me to another thing. If in order to believe that we have the audacity, and you said we need to really speak truth to power, reclaim our destiny, I think that we have to be around people, positive people, people that are reinforcers. I know that I get up every morning and I go to my Queen's Champion page that you run every single day, and that gives me the wonderful, beautiful. I can't even put it into words, but it gets my day started at 5 a.m. And like I said in the previous episode, I'm not a morning person, but if somebody has something to say, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna get my spirit. My spirit is filled first thing in the morning. It's because life is a journey and it's not an easy journey. And if you think about what's going on in the world, sometimes our audacious behavior or what we think is audacious can get crushed easily by what we might see on television. How can we be around people that are of like kind and quality so that we can surround ourselves with people that are moving forward, that are positive thinkers, rather than those people that's trying to drag us down and just use us for what they can and then just kind of kick us to the curb? How can we change even what we do on a day-to-day basis? What are your suggestions?
I love that. I love that, Dr. E. And you know what? Everything is geared towards intentionality. If we just live, que sera, sera, what will be, we will continue in the same rut that we have always been in. So if we are intentional about changing our lives, about becoming audacious, then we will have to find a community. And there are hundreds of thousands of groups that you can join online that are free, and you can just listen to them and you can just glean from them. There's so much instruction on YouTube and all types of channels. There is no excuse anymore for not being able to find a community. And guess what? If you find, you know, that you still don't fit, you're a square trying to fit into a round peg, start your own community. Start your own. Go on Facebook, go on whatever platform you choose, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, you know, Clubhouse, and start a group. Start your own mentoring group. You can just do it with a small group of friends, but it is critical, as you stated so poignantly, to have a community. No man is an island. We all need each other. And community helps us to build our confidence. You know, in your own life, Dr. E, when I saw the bold moves that you were making in academia, you know, that really propelled me to like, wow, I can do so much more because you know what? Look at my sissy. She's doing major things. And so when we do more, we give others permission to do more. You cannot be what you cannot see. I'm convinced of that. And so we light the torch for others when we claim our audacity to believe.
Thank you so much. You know, when you're rising to the top and you have the audacity to believe that you can be whatever you set your mind to, there's always going to be some negativity that's going to come your way. So how do you crush the negativity and turn that negative into positive? I mean, what do you do when you have a friend, and I'm doing this with the quoting of the fingers or whatever, but you know, when you have someone that say that they're your friend, but they're not adding value to your life, how do you deal with that?
You know what? That is such a great point. And how I think one of the most effective ways to deal with that is to draw boundaries around your life. If someone is super toxic, super negative, super not very supportive in your life, then, you know, many times it can be family members. It can be, you know, friends that have been friends for a long time, whatever. They're not people that you can easily discard in many cases. But we always have the ability and, in my opinion, the responsibility to negate their negative effects on our lives and in our atmosphere. So the negative, toxic people in my life get zero space. They get hardly any room to navigate in my life. I don't give them the ability to speak on my platforms. I don't give them the ability to speak into my atmosphere, to be around me much. I narrow the focus so closely in that, okay, you can text me, but I'm not available for a conversation. I'm free to listen to, you know, if you got something you want to share, send me an email. But I'm not going to hear them in my ear on a daily basis. And so I think it is so powerful and so important to determine the boundaries of relationships.
I tell you, that is so important. Boundaries are absolutely critical. And that gets into self-care. In order to take care of oneself, you have to know what your limits are. And in order to reach a level of audacity, you, and whatever that means to you, you have to know, you got to have a blueprint, and you have to be able to stick with your plan, because life is circuitous. It's not a straight road to whatever it is you want to do. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that who's ever around you would bring positive energy into your space. So, so important. You know, speaking of that, anytime you call me, I see your name pop up, and it's like, oh, that's my sissy. I got to get the phone. I got to get the phone. I wish I could do that with just everyone. I wish I had that kind of enthusiasm, but that's not the case. And so if we can have someone in our lives that we can bring in with enthusiasm, and I feel really blessed because there are a few people that I feel that, okay, I trust you, I adore you, you give me fuel. There's people that I talk to that it's like, wow, I feel so incredible after I talk to them. Conversely, there are people that after I talk to them, I mean, I feel I have no energy left. So that's when I'm able to literally pick and choose what is added value versus those that are not added value. I'd say this, you have a time you have a time card, excuse me, not a time card, but you literally say that certain people can text you, some can email you, etc., and that's how you keep people away at distance, so to speak, that's not adding value. I actually have a time clock. If I know I need to talk to you, I put my timer on, and it's like, I'm gonna give you so much time and then I have to go. And so that is not a negative thing. What it does, it keeps me positive so that I can have that audacious attitude that this day will be a great day. This day will be a magnificent day. This day is a day that I know that I can share something beautiful, something wonderful to, whether it's my students or whether it's family or even friends, but that keeping negativity out is very, very important. So as we get ready to wrap up, Queen V, speaking truth to power and reclaiming one's own destiny, just like our wonderful Miss Felix, what are some of the things that we could leave our audience with?
I think there were so many amazing, powerful points for today's session, but I think for sure, in order to be audacious enough to believe, we have to set boundaries. We have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about what we are listening to, about the community that we're involved in, and of course, keeping the naysayers and the dream assassins at bay. Don't give them room to operate. I love your idea about the time clock. Limit their time, limit their location, and limit your access to them. And I think that's incredibly powerful.
Oh, I tell you, I can't not say any more behind that, because that is so true. Queen V, thank you so much for this day. This has been an audacious conversation. I hope that our listening audience can literally think about what they can take away for every single day. Have a takeaway for yourself. What is it that you can add value in your own life during this day? And what are your takeaways? What are you going to share with the next person? What are you going to share with yourself? Whether it's exercise, whether it's being nice to someone, but keep that dream alive, whatever it may be. So with having said that, I thank you so much for tuning in to Queen V and Dr. E. And what do we have coming up next, Queen V?
Next time we have another riveting, compelling story, because as we know, life is full of story and everyone has a story, but we have gleaned the most unusual, many unheard of or little known stories of people that have taken their ordinary lives to extraordinary heights because they have the audacity to believe.
That's an A to B. What can I say? Okay, so we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
They better watch out, yeah. Forget the things that they say. Look out, babe, look out. You got it.